How's it going, guys? This is Al coming at you once again with a way too early first look for week 1 on Draftkings. Today we're going to look at the running backs, go by tier, by salary pricing, and come down the list looking at the players that I'm most interested in for week 1. There's going to be some guys that you're going to find out I'm heavy on. There's going to be some guys that you're going to find I'm not interested at all, at least where we're sitting right now, 3.5 weeks before week 1 kicks off, that I just don't think I'm interested in playing. And a couple of them are going to surprise you. What I ask is, if you're watching this video on YouTube, that you do 3 things. 1, click the like button. 2, click subscribe on the channel. And 3, most importantly, after you do those first 2 things, is click that bell. You gotta ring it to find out when I post new videos in the future. Glad that you're here. Thank you guys for watching. Why don't we just get right to it, right? We got, once again, looking at the Millie Maker lineup builder, $5 million Millie Maker for week 1. Absolutely love this. $5 million, $1 million to first. You can see about 650 hours until this kicks off. Right there at the top, the 3 big dogs on this slate. Obviously, Todd Gurley would be right up there with him, but he's not on this slate. They don't play here. So Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, a.k.a. DFJ. If you don't know what that means, you don't listen to The Edge, and you should. So shame on you. And Alvin Kamara, who is probably, of these 3, in my opinion, going to be the most popular of these 3 running backs. I think that Kamara, with Ingram out because of suspension, Kamara expected to get more volume because there's just nobody else for him to really split with. You know, there's just nothing else for him to really split with here. So looking at his volume last year, right? 10 carries, 10 carries, 9 carries, 12 carries, 12 carries. He never really had a huge game on volume, but he had this massive touchdown production, 15 touchdowns on essentially what, 15, 16 touches a game total. That's not sustainable, but you give the kid, I don't know what, 19 to 22, 19 to 25 touches, with 5 of those probably coming through the air, 5 of those touches coming through the air. Alvin Kamara against Tampa Bay, who's had trouble stopping just about everything in the last couple of years, and that doesn't really look to have changed this offseason. Alvin Kamara is, in my opinion, going to be the high dollar chalk for week 1 at running back. That doesn't mean that Le'Veon Bell is somebody that I think you should ignore. I think that he's going to be high enough owned that he's not, you're going to get an advantage over the field. I think all of these guys are going to be a minimum of 20% owned. David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Kamara, with David Johnson probably being the lowest owned of the 3. Because he's coming off injury, people don't know what to expect. Washington has been pretty tough, but I don't think that David Johnson matters when it comes to matchups. Obviously, I wouldn't want to play him against like Jacksonville, but like in terms of a tournament, if he's going to be at 10% owned against a defense like that, I would want to have maybe 20 or 25% in my tournament allocation, just because he can go off. We saw this last year when myself and a lot of other people, or 2 years ago, when myself and a lot of other people faded him against Minnesota, in Minnesota, because there was such a good defense, and he goes off and has like a 25, 30 fantasy point day, because maybe he can't run the ball, but they could throw him to him more, and he gets like 8 or 9 catches, and in full PPR, you have to remember that that is a massive boost to a running back's game. Just because they can't run the ball against this team, and maybe he's not going to get 20 carries, he might get 15 carries and might get 10 or 12 targets. A guy like DJ, a guy like Le'Veon Bell, and possibly a guy in this next tier that we'll talk about in a minute. Ezekiel Elliott, somebody I think you have to pay attention to this season. Pat Thornton summed it up on Twitter. He said, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And they're expecting Ezekiel Elliott to catch more balls this year, because who the hell else is going to catch any balls for Dallas? They just don't have that many options on the outside. So Ezekiel Elliott should see a target jump this year based on the fact that their biggest outside threats are a rookie and Tavon Austin and Cole Beasley. There's just nobody to catch the ball. So there's going to be a lot more pass game opportunity for somebody like Zeke Elliott, which should boost him in terms of your PPR rankings. Somebody that you are going to have to consider at 7,700 based on the fact that he should see more usage like this, 5, 7, maybe 8 targets, maybe 3, 4, 5 catches a game. As opposed to these 1-1-1s that we saw a lot in the middle of last season after he came back from suspension. Leonard Fournette, generally speaking, I like to stick to running backs at home that are massively favored. Okay? So it's not a rule, but it's something that you kind of look for. It's like, I have these check boxes that I go down okay, is the guy going to get 20 plus touches? Is he going to get involvement in the passing game? Is he going to get the goal line carries? Is his team at home? Because running backs who play at home typically do better in terms of fantasy than running backs playing on the road. And is he on a favored home team of 7 points or more? Because we see a drastic increase in running backs playing at home when they're favored by 7 or more points. So if they can check off every one of those boxes, they're kind of a plug and play for me. Leonard Fournette doesn't check off every one of those boxes, but he checks off the first 3. They're not at home. They are going to be favored, and they do definitely want to run the ball against a Giants team that should be playing from behind that day. Leonard Fournette has the ability to bust big touchdowns, and he's going to get the goal line work. Big playability. I think he's going to be a little more involved in the passing game this year than last. It was steady. We thought that he wasn't going to be involved last year at all, and he was logging 2 to 4 catches pretty much every week. I would not be shocked to see 2.5 to 5 catches from him, or 2.5 to 4.5, so a slight bump. Not like a massive swing, but like less 1s and more 5s this year, as well as feeding him the ball 20 to 25 times on the ground, including all of the goal line work and the big play possibility against the Giants. I think that he's a solid play, but not necessarily my favorite play on the day. Kareem Hunt, somebody you have to consider, but against the Chargers on the road, not sure that I really want to go and lean on him in this tier, considering that right below him, you're going to have Melvin Gordon, who should get a ton of volume in the passing game. Ton of volume, checks off pretty much every box except the favored by 7 box, right? You look at his game logs from last year, massive involvement in the passing game, gonna get 17 to 23 carries on the ground, gonna get all the goal line work. We saw him have a massive amount of red zone touches last year, led the league by a big margin in terms of red zone touches for running backs. So he's got a really solid floor and a possibility at a very big ceiling in this game, especially considering that Hunter Henry is going to be out because he is lost for the season. More red zone work possibly coming from Melvin Gordon, both through the air and on the ground. I don't know if you can increase that, but there it is. Saquon Barkley is the brand new toy that everybody, I think, wants to play with. This is not the situation that I want to play him. Yes, he's at home. Yes, he's going to get all the work. More involved in the passing game than I think most people realize he's going to be. They're like, oh yeah, he's a good pass catcher, but not so sure. Like they're kind of waffly about how involved he's going to be in the pass game. I think 65 catches is very reasonable for a guy like Barkley in his first year. He is exceptional in the passing game. I think that potentially he is a back along the lines of David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell, but this is not the week that I want to play him. I'm not saying he's going to be that this year. I'm not sure that the Giants offensive line is that. I think that in the right situation, he can be that guy. And with the players that they have on that team on the outside, guys like Ingram, guys like OBJ, Shepard, all the options they have on the outside, you can't exactly just stack the box against Barkley. And if they get him matched up on a linebacker and run him on a wheel route or a circle, it's going to be tough to guard him out of the backfield. So he's going to contribute a lot in volume. Should get 18 carries pretty much every game. Unless they're getting stomped. And if they're getting stomped, he's game flow independent, which means he should get a ton more targets if he doesn't get the carries. And he's going to get a healthy amount of targets. I would say 7 or 8 targets a game anyway. So Saquon Barkley is somebody that I think maybe more along the lines of a LaShawn McCoy from last year, where he's going to get the goal line work, but I don't know how many touchdowns he's totally going to score, or score in total, I should say. But the volume is most certainly going to be there on the ground and through the air. But against Jacksonville, I don't think his ownership's going to be low enough for me to warrant having a significant position on him in tournaments. I definitely don't want him in cash. We talked about Gordon just now, and I prefer him. I think that Kansas City's defense is not going to be as good as that 5 next to his name is considered. This offensive opponent's rank right here, being 5th, is going to scare some people off of him, maybe. I don't think that their defense is going to be very good at all. And Gordon's going to be heavily involved in that offense. Dalvin Cook, somebody that I really want to get into for week 1. Joe Mixon, we saw him spread out wide against Indy in the preseason. They're going to pass him the ball. Year 2 running backs are set to take a leap, in my opinion. We have 3 of them right here at the end of this tier. Christian McCaffrey, who we saw get a goal line carry in the preseason. Got a touchdown from 2 yards out. Last season, all those went to Stewart. If they keep him on the field and keep Cam in the shotgun, and get the ball to McCaffrey more than they got it to him last year inside the 5. His ceiling every week goes way up because he did not have the carries. They said how much they wanted to get him the ball, but 6 carries a game just isn't going to do it. He was viable because he was catching the ball in those games, as you can see, but floor to ceiling was extremely wide, right? 7.8 points, 8.3 points, 26, 25. So he was very much a GPP play and a hit or miss guy, but if he's going to get 12 to 15 carries a game along with those 8 targets this year, all of a sudden he becomes a massive play and is underpriced at 6,400. So I'm kind of in wait and see mode for the rest of preseason to see if McCaffrey is still in short yardage packages at least half the time. We'll see snap counts and things like that. Adam Levitan tweeting those out every once in a while. Obviously the guys at PFF charting every single game during preseason. You want to see what he does when the ones are on the field, and is he in goal line packages, in first and goal situations, second and goal situations? How often is he on the field? If he's on the field 50 or 60 or 70% of the time, then McCaffrey becomes way more palatable, not just in your season-long leagues, but in week 1 against Dallas. Dalvin Cook coming off of an injury against San Francisco. The 49ers are a team that we've been really stacking. I think Dalvin Cook is one of the more favorable options for me in week 1 at his price point. 6,200 is not expensive. You can go with, 16,000 for 3 running backs. Not including the top guys, right? If you want to go with Kamara and then one of these guys in the 6K range, and then the one guy later that I think is going to be the absolute chalk for week 1, you're going to spend 17, 18K on your running backs and be set. You're going to get 15 plus touches from every one of them, have high touchdown expectation from every one of them, and have high volume from every one of them. So Dalvin Cook definitely in play for me. Joe Mixon makes a very good tournament play. LaShawn McCoy, I'm probably going to be steering completely clear of, regardless of how this 25 kind of stands out for people. I know McCoy's going to get a ton of volume. I'm in wait and see mode on him. I know that one of my things that I say to you guys all the time is that if you're in wait and see mode, by the time you've waited and seen, it's already too late. And that goes into one of my early season philosophies, that you have to trust yourself. Right? For the first 3-4 weeks of the season is the best time to be contrarian in daily fantasy. So if you have a strong take on LaShawn McCoy, if you think that Baltimore is not going to be strong against the run, if you think LaShawn McCoy is going to get 25 plus touches from week 1 on, and you think that he's got some touchdown equity to him at 6K, which a lot of people know that the volume is going to be there, but I just don't know how well that offense is going to move the ball. Although Josh Allen did look pretty good in preseason in their first game. We'll have to keep monitoring that as it goes on, or if Peterman's going to be the starting QB. Can they consistently move the ball against Baltimore in Baltimore is going to be something we're going to have to track as the preseason goes on. If you think that they can, then McCoy is an excellent value at 6,000. I simply prefer Dalvin Cook at this point. Jerick McKinnon, not going to play him against Minnesota. Yes, it's a revenge game. Yes, he's going to be involved in the passing game. I'm just not going to play a running back on the road. In mini. Alex Collins, extremely viable to me in week 1, 5,600. Somebody that I'm probably not going to end up having in cash, though I think he's a cash game viable guy. Thank you very much for the sub, Paroya Dolphin. Thank you very much. Definitely viable in week 1. Somebody that you're going to have to pay attention to at 5,600. A good pivot if you want to be a little contrarian in cash. I think he makes for a great tournament play. Although his ownership's going to be high, you can easily outpace the field. Because of how many good running back plays there are in week 1, in the Millionaire Maker, there's not going to be more than one real standout in terms of ownership. There might be 1.5. I think Kamara will be highly owned. And I think that Burkhead's going to be the next guy that's really highly owned. So Alex Collins, the last in that kind of tier that I think is going to get huge usage. Derrick Henry, if you believe in him, go for him. Lamar Miller against New England and what could shoot out makes for a great tournament play because everybody's going to shy away from that. And we saw that last year in week 1 as well on the Thursday night game with Kareem Hunt having a monster game against New England in New England and was not highly owned in the Thursday through Monday tournaments. Chris Ivory, not in play at all. This is where we see that they've priced up the backups, this range in here, right? So if the starter gets hurt for week 1 because the prices came out so early, these guys go up in price so that it's not going to break the slate. Rashad Penny against Denver in Denver. This is where a lot of the rookies fell. Chris Thompson out. Not out, but questionable for week 1. Don't know if he'll be back with the injury that he sustained last year. And then we get into kind of these guys. And you look at all these guys here, right? Royce Freeman, solid rookie running back, 4,500. Don't know if he's going to get the starting gig against Seattle, who is not as good a defense as their history has shown. This year, they're going to take a big fall off of where they were in the past. We don't know what Freeman's role is yet. We expect him to be the first and second down banger. In full PPR, I think that he's a little bit of a trap, though I think he's viable in tournaments. Not somebody I want in cash because he does not get... he should not get as much involvement in the passing game, at least early in the season. Booker looks like the third down guy. Gio Bernard, extremely interesting, way more for me than a guy like Freeman or any of these other rookies in that range because of the volume that he was getting behind Mixon and the opponent that they have here in Indy, right? So you look at the volume that he was getting late in the year. 10 carries, 9 targets. 23 carries, 7 targets. That was the game that Mixon did not play. Mixon played week 15. 14 and 5, 11 and 8. This is a secondary guy getting 40% of the work behind the 60% of Mixon. I think that Mixon's obviously the lead back, but at 4,400, I think you have to consider Gio Bernard, considering that this game is one of the more likely games to shoot out on the slate that doesn't have the highest possible total. Indy's defense is bad. Cincy's defense is bad. But Andrew Luck being back is going to keep the pedal to the metal for Indy, and it's going to force other teams to score to keep up, if not stay ahead, as Indy chases from behind. I think I think that Bernard is at least a very good tournament play, but the highest owned play that I think on the board is out there is Rex Burkhead. With Sony Michel being injured, Burkhead was already mispriced before Michel suffered his preseason injury, before he fumbled in a preseason game. We see Burkhead late in the season, right? Not in the playoffs when everybody was hurt and Dion Lewis got the ball. But you look at the output that he was getting when he was the goal line guy. Now, if he remains that goal line guy, we have to see what happens for the rest of the preseason. Jeremy Hill got a run. I did not track yet if that was with the ones or if that was with the twos. But Burkhead at 4,200. If he is the Dion Lewis role guy, if he maintains at least half of that goal line work guy, for the Patriots, he is a must play at 4,200, but something we're going to continue to track, and I will be back week 1 with my first look lineup, and then we'll do the question and answer on Friday right here on twitch.tv/Al_Smizzle, where we go over all of these plays leading up to lock. So these are things we're going to have to monitor, but right now where we sit, and it is, I'm recording this on August the 13th. So where we sit right now, Rex Burkhead to me is the absolute chalk. I've detailed about 10 or 11 of these guys that I really like for week 1. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to click like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell on YouTube so that you know the next time that I'm live. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. We'll catch up to you later. Bye, guys.